I'm going to create a new scene and show you some other effects. One of the others that is a lot of fun to play with is NCloth. So I'm going to create a plane. I'm going to add a little bit more definition to this. So right now it's only 10 by 10 subdivisions. I'll make it 50 by 50. I'm also going to create a sphere for this plane to interact with. Now if I hit play right now, nothing happens. And that's because Maya does not know what we want it to do with these objects. Maybe we want this plane to just be a floor, or maybe we want this sphere to be a planet, or maybe a bouncy ball. Maya doesn't know, and we have to tell it. So what I'm going to tell it is that I want this to be a piece of fabric. I can do that by going to InCloth, Create InCloth. And once I've done that, when I hit play, it will simulate that piece of NCloth falling. Now it's not very impressive, but there's also nothing affecting this. It's not colliding with anything, it's not interacting with wind, so it's as if you laid out a perfectly starched bed sheet in outer space and just sort of pushed it in one direction. What we need is something for this piece of fabric to interact with. So let's select our sphere and make it a collider. So if I go to NCloth, Create Passive Collider, now this will interact with our cloth, but it won't turn into cloth itself. And when I hit play, my fabric will fall and wrap neatly around the sphere. So there's more than one kind of fabric. If I select this fabric and go to my attribute editor, again, you'll see some of the different elements that have been created. My plane still exists, but the NCloth is causing it to deform. The rigid node represents the passive collider that is the sphere. So if I select my NCloth 1 node and go to the settings in the attribute editor, you'll see that I can change a lot of different elements of this. I can make it more or less stretchy, or I can make it less resistant to bend or more resistant to bend. So if I turned up my bend resistance to something really high and hit play, this simulation is going to look much different. So the hard part about effects is that all of these values do something, and it takes a long time to learn what they do. So we also have some presets for some of our fabric. If I go to presets, I can set this to, let's say, something like silk, and I can replace all of the settings in here to act like silk. This is a really good way of learning what each of these settings do. And now if I hit play, it's going to fall as if it's much lighter. But when it hits an object, it's going to wrinkle a lot. And so we're going to end up with a much more interesting dynamic shape. If I choose something like heavy denim, it's going to be heavier, but the wrinkles are going to be much more subtle.